Hey, what's up, guys? It's Jordan with the Laundromat Resource Podcast. This is show 161, and I'm pumped you're here today because today we get into it with Amanda, and we talk all things laundromats, but we also talk about other podcasts. We talk a little bit about goat yoga. I don't know. This is a fun episode, a lot of fun, but also we dig into a lot of the weeds of how she's running her business, how she got in this business. So I know you're going to love it. You're going to enjoy it. I loved it. Huge shout out to Amanda for coming on the show. For today's fast lane tip, before we jump into it with Amanda, I wanted to just drop just a little tip to help you succeed or take the next step in your process of either buying a laundromat or running a laundromat. Here's the fast lane tip. And did you know that we have a blog at laundromatresource.com/blog that has a ton of articles, literally hundreds of articles that I've written and others have written there on the Laundromat Resource blog that go into the how-tos, into some of the practical tips and tricks of running a laundromat, of buying a laundromat. There's some guides there that you can check out there on how to buy a laundromat, how to pick up a delivery, all kinds of different things coming out of that blog. So go check that out. And also Fridays, every week we send out an email on Fridays that has, just some highlighted blog posts, YouTube videos, things like that you might want to check out. So if you're like me and a little bit of a laundry nerd, then you definitely want to check out the blog and check out that Friday email. So if you're not on the email list, go sign up for the email list. It's free. I'm not even charging people for this. This is insanity. Just kidding. All right. That's today's fast lane tip. laundromatresource.com/blog. Go check it out and let's jump into it with Amanda. Amanda, thank you for coming on the show. How are you doing today?
Great. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm super excited to hang out with you today and chat laundry and laundromats with you. But man, listen, I've got to say, you have a podcast studio that you were in over there. So this is kind of a big deal right now.
Obviously, it's a huge deal right now. You should see, I'm in the basement of my laundromat and we stuck like soundproofing to our concrete walls. And then you can probably hear the machines going upstairs.
I can't hear it, but listen, there's no better place to do a laundromat podcast than in a podcast studio in the basement of your laundromat. So
yeah.
This has got the makings of greatness written all over it already from the get-go.
I built it just for this podcast, actually, just for today. No.
Oh my gosh, this is incredible.
You're welcome.
Feels like a lie to me, but and I know for a fact it's a lie to me because I know about the other podcasts happening. But hey, why don't you tell us who you are and a little bit about you?
Oh, that's going to be the hardest question. Who it started?
Oh, that sounds like a challenge.
Day. It was an early spring day, 1981. No.
Okay.
So my name is Amanda. I am the owner of the Laundry Basket in Bangor, Maine. Been an owner for 2 years now. My background in training is I'm a licensed clinical social worker. So I actually worked in the mental health field for almost 20 years before I found myself here in this new profession. I'm a mother of 2 teenagers, and that's what I am.
Awesome. Well, no, that's great. I mean, we love to know some like deep, dark secrets and,
I'm not really sure I have none.
Just kidding. Let's open up the closet and see what's in there.
Exactly. Well, you'll hear it in the podcast. Don't worry.
Yeah. All right. That's what I'm looking forward to. Stick around, people.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you did social work for a while?
Yeah. So I went to school to be I have a master's degree in social work and worked in various social work industries. And actually spent the last 14 years of my career at a local psychiatric hospital. I was doing direct care, doing emergency psychiatric evaluations in an emergency department, and then moved into middle management. What every young person says they want to be when they grow up is a middle manager, obviously.
Yeah. Or a laundromat owner.
Right?
One or the other. Yeah.
And then moved from kind of like supervision middle management to innovation. I had the opportunity. I was the director of innovation for a time where I oversaw project management and innovation at the hospital. And then, healthcare is a tough place to be.
It's tough.
And mental health care is a tough place to be. Middle management is a tough place to be, especially when you're charged with trying to innovate in a large system that you really don't have a lot of agency over. So talk about a frustrating, like the coolest title ever, the coolest job description ever, and the most frustrating position ever.
Let me innovate.
And then, oh, but wait, you have to go through this like 50,000 step process. I was getting burnt, as many people were. And then my husband and I have always kind of had an entrepreneurial side to us. We bought our first flip house when I was in grad school. We've always had these side projects going on. We owned a mobile home community for 10 years, I think.
Cool.
And when, and people would always come and try and buy it from us. And I used to get excited because it's a whole other story, but mobile home community ownership is a lot of work. And so I used to get excited when people would offer to buy it. And then I was like, whatever, like I'll believe it when I see it. Cause we probably got like 3 offers a year. And then we didn't even have it listed. Like it wasn't listed. It wasn't for sale, but people just approached us. And, all of a sudden the sale actually went through. Like it was real. They closed, they gave us money for it. And we needed to do something with that money we used the 1031 exchange kind of tax deferment process. And that was happening at the same time. Our plan had always been to have careers and kind of do this entrepreneurial stuff on the side. But I was so burnt and I was like, no, I don't want to do my career anymore. I don't like this anymore. So, we were just looking for something we could do with our 1031 exchange. There's a certain amount of time you have to identify the property. And we were like coming up on the end of that time. I think we had a week left and we still hadn't identified a property for our 1031 exchange. And a laundromat came on the market and I completely overlooked it because I am I'm not a laundry person. I admittedly had never been to a laundromat in my life. I am messy. I'm disorganized. I'm not domestic. And so I was like laundry is not me. And then
classic mistake.
It was like, it just isn't. I am a mess. And again, we were running out of time and I was like, well, let me just Google what this might look like. And everything when you Google like laundromat ownership, everything pops up as this wonderful business opportunity. So we went and looked at it, met the owners. We got to do a little tour with the owners who had owned it for 26 years and bought a laundromat. And the day it closed, that was in December of 21. We closed on February 15th of 2022 at 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. I handed in my resignation at the hospital and my last day at work was in May. So for 3 months, I worked both jobs and the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was like, you were done. You were done.
I was done. Yeah.
You're like, okay, I've been a business owner and an employee for an hour and that was about enough for me. So I'm out of here.
It was like, so I've always had this like fantasy, your fantasy line. And my fantasy line was to hand in my resignation to my CEO and say, I just don't need to work anymore.
Yeah.
And I did my fantasy line, which isn't true. I mean, I still need to work, but not really, kind of. So I was like,
for yourself though. Yeah.
I just don't need to work anymore.
I'm my own director of innovation now for my own thing. Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, and that's sort of like the dream that like half the people listening to this who are trying to buy their first laundromat. I mean, this is the dream of like, I need a laundromat to be able to say exactly that to my boss and start building my own thing.
Yeah.
What made you feel like, okay, this is the time and we can do this now?
We had that. We happened to sell our mobile home park, and so we had to do something with that money, or we were going to have to pay a lot of taxes. And when I kind of started Googling and running the numbers on the laundromat, which again I literally knew nothing about, I was like, oh, this might be able to actually be our little side entrepreneurial hustle and also my career at the same time. Like we might be able to do this. So we ran the numbers and just went for it, really knowing nothing.
That's the best way to do it. Just jump into that sucker and get going. And listen, I don't want to like put you on the spot, but like, listen, we had been putting out episodes for like a year by then. Did you listen to any of the episodes before you bought this thing?
No.
Oh,
I listened to them after I bought it though. No.
Yeah. Like, what did I do?
It was kind of like our life it was a busy time in our life. We have two teenagers and our teenager was in a bit of a mental health crisis at the time. And I was working full time and we were trying to buy this business. And it was like, talk about a blur. We were just like going by the seat of our pants, seriously. And so we signed on the dotted line and then figured it out. And when we were starting to figure it out, that's when I'm like, oh, I better look to, listen to some podcasts.
Figure out what I'm doing. Yeah.
I better read an article, watch a YouTube video or two.
Yeah. You can learn anything on YouTube.
You can.
It's true. That's true. I feel pretty confident I could do an appendectomy today if I have internet access.
Yeah.
I could do it. So any volunteers out there, let me know. Was this laundromat able to replace your income or get you close enough, I guess, at least to feel like, okay, we don't have to make too many big adjustments. We'll be good to go.
Yeah, we were so fortunate. The people we bought it from owned the laundromat for 26 years before we did. And they ran a tight ship. They were meticulous, just good, solid business people, very efficient. They kept the place pristine, and they were cash positive with it. So that's great. And then, so we've come in and I've put a lot more money into the business and I am kind of hoarding some money. Just, it's 2 years and you never know what's going to come up. And so I wanted to spend a couple of years building a nest egg so that I feel okay. So we're good. And we're really, fortunate to be in a position. My husband, he works and I wander around now. So we're able to live off of his income and kind of just build our nest egg. But the simple answer is yes. Yes, we are cash flowing enough that I could replace my my old salary and some. And the more complicated answer is, but I'm not doing that. I'm putting the money back into the business and just make sure we're good.
That's good. I mean, no, that's all. Obviously, listen, you guys are savvy investors and owners over here. And even though you may, listen, stop it. Stop it.
I haven't
let me
finish. About our
storage
unit.
Even though, I do want to hear about that now. But even though you may not know some of the nuances and, listen, everybody's going to make mistakes, right? Like everybody's going to have things go wrong. That's my story, right? Like my story is I lost a ton of money at an easy business. Like that's the reality of my situation, right? And I was in the 5% who couldn't figure out how to, run a successful laundromat apparently. And that's just how it goes. But you guys had, you'd done flips, you'd done some real estate, you'd had the mobile home parks. Apparently you've had storage and learned some lessons.
We still do. So if you're in the market, let me know.
Okay.
We'll meet after.
All right. Listen, I'm going to broker a deal right now. Hey, if you're interested, is it in Maine?
It's in Maine.
Storage?
Yeah.
Is in Maine?
It's RV and boat storage.
I'll get it sold for you.
Yeah, there we go. Good.
RV and boat storage. All right. Listen, you're out there and you want RV and boat storage in Maine. You're going to reach out to Amanda. She's going to tell you how at the very end, how to get a hold of her. So This is happening. We're going to sell that thing. Awesome. Okay. So you bought this laundromat. You weren't looking for a laundromat. You were just looking for somewhere to put your money from your 1031. And just in case anybody doesn't know, you can obviously Google 1031 exchange, but it's basically a way to defer your capital gains tax when you sell a property and reinvest it into, something else. The government basically says, okay, you don't have to take the gains. You can reinvest it and we won't take the taxes that you owe on the capital gains. So that's essentially what 1031 exchanging is. It's buying an equal or more valuable asset from selling another asset. So you don't have to pay taxes on it. Just so we're all on the same page here. Okay, cool. Well, that's awesome. First of all, I love that you guys are utilizing some of the, the incentives and I don't want to call them loopholes. They're not loopholes, but the tools that the government has given us to help us grow our wealth, which is pretty cool. Okay, so you found this laundromat. You ran some numbers. You're like, okay, we're going for it. How? And then you put in your resignation right after. Like, how are you feeling at that time? I mean, you just bought a new business. You're resigning from your job. You're like jumping in both feet. How are you feeling at that time?
Again, it was a funny time in our life. My child, who was 15 at the time, was also experiencing a mental health crisis. They're doing great now. They're starting a podcast about it, actually. But
what's it called?
It's called Inspired Insights, and it's launching in the beginning of June. Yep.
Awesome. This will be out probably the middle of June. So
middle of June, probably. Yeah. And it's
check out Inspired Insights.
An expert
podcast.
in mental health.
We'll link it. We'll link it.
There we go. Yeah.
Send me the link and we'll link it. Yeah.
But so it was just this, we're kind of impulsive by nature anyway. And I think any entrepreneur needs to be. There's an element of risk that you have to take. And I love the quote, I think it was Richard Branson's quote, I don't know, that luck is preparation meets opportunity. And you have to not only kind of get yourself in this prepared place, perhaps like growing, like, I don't know, having some capital to invest or whatever, but then you need to, when the opportunity arises, you have to seize it, right? So we were ready to seize, and we were really busy and not really thinking that much. So it was a blur. It was completely overwhelming. There was, so again, with our kid, that was the big thing. We were planning a big international camp for our other child at the time. We had sold our house in Maine the year before, bought a new house, a smaller house that was a total fixer-upper. So we were fixing up that house at the same time. And in the meantime, we traveled for about 6 months and lived on the road while we were working and going to school virtually. And we had bought a house in Florida and fixed it up. And we were going to rent it out as an Airbnb, which we did for a little bit. But the market turned about the same time. So we happened to sell that literally all at the same time. We were selling our Airbnb in Florida and having to do another 1031 exchange for that. So it was just, I look back at that time in my life and I'm like, I don't know how I was standing upright. It was all a blur. I would highly not recommend doing all of that at once. We bought our storage unit at the same time because of the stupid 1031 timeline. And it was, 10 out of 10, do not recommend. We made some good decisions and some bad decisions all in that time.
Yeah. Well, you just get them all over with all at once. It's like, it was a lot. Band-Aid off.
It was a lot.
No, it's tough. I mean, how did you manage all that? I mean, you got family stuff going on. You've got stuff going on at the house. You've got new businesses. You're dealing with these, 1031 exchanges have, a couple sets of timelines, right? You have to identify your investment properties, and then you have a certain amount of time to close on those deals too. So there's a lot of pressure with the 1031 exchange. So you've got that looming over you and kind of forcing you to make a decision and commit to something, right? And so, how did you manage that? You're taking over a business and you're dealing with your kid who's in a crisis and life that's a little bit in a crisis. Like how were you managing that?
I didn't manage it well, probably. If I look back and I'm like, because it was like, so my first priority is always, this is not good, right? But my first priority has always been work. Like I'm a worker. And so I was going to work still because we bought on February 15th. I put in my resignation, but my last day wasn't until May because I wanted to leave I had to leave an appropriate amount of time. And I look back at that time and I was like, oh yeah, I was doing it all. And I look back and I'm like, oh my God, that was not the best performance I've ever provided to a workplace for sure. And it was like this, I was so not present with anything in my life at that moment. And so I think it's one of those, like you say someone has to hit rock bottom. And this was, I guess, kind of our rock bottom with just how busy and chaotic life was. And it was like this illustration of this kind of like rat race hamster wheel we had got on for whatever reason. I don't even know how we got there. And so the past 2 years, I've been so I feel so fortunate to have had this laundry that the laundromat, which has given me time in my life to just sit back and reflect and calm down, calm our entire lives down, because I was not functioning well at all. And I look back in some of the decisions we made, like the storage unit. I'm like, why did we do that? That wasn't that was not part of our goal at all. Why are we doing that? So I wasn't functioning. And I learned a lot of lessons. I've learned a lot. I've changed as a human being because of that. I used to take pride. It was almost like it was their badge of pride of who can work the most and the longest hours and send emails latest into the night and on the weekends. And now I'm like, and who can get the biggest title? And I'm like, I don't want any of that. I just want to fold laundry.
Yeah. The tables have turned.
Yeah. I want to fold laundry and I don't know, stare off at water somewhere.
That's right. Yeah. Well, no, and I appreciate you sharing that because it's tough. This is, life can be tough, right? And business ownership can be tough, and it's tough. And that's just reality, right? And I talk a lot about how one of the darkest times of my life was early on in my laundromat, right? And a lot of the problems that I had in my life at that time were derived from the stress from owning the business, right? And created a rift between my wife and I for a while. And I'm sure the kids were feeling that there was stress in the house, and it was tough, man. And so, but that's a little bit of reality, right? And so I appreciate you sharing that because, it's really easy to look on YouTube or on TikTok and see people collecting fat stacks of money or buckets full of quarters and stuff like that and think oh, that's easy money. I'll do that. And we see a lot of interest in the business because of that. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but a little bit of a dose of reality is life can get tough and messy and complicated and stressful when you have teenagers, but also when you own businesses. That's kind of the reality of it. So I appreciate you sharing that and being transparent about it, because I don't know. I think a lot of people will identify with that for sure.
And make no mistake, the laundry life is certainly providing me the lifestyle I want now, but that was not without 20 years of hard work beforehand. So any wealth that we have has been from sweat off of our backs. Our sweat equity is real. And we owned that mobile home park before. And when we bought the mobile home park, I had a 1-year-old, and we closed on it 3 weeks before my second child was born. And I remember the first time collecting rent was the middle of a snowstorm. It was 3 weeks before my second kid was born. And I'm walking around in a snowstorm collecting rent. And then one day after my kid was born, I was in there collecting rent and signing leases. So we did put in.
That was nice of your husband to give you the day, at least.
He was there too.
I mean, you could have done it later. You could have done it later that day.
I know. So. The first 3 years that we had that mobile home park, my husband, we again both had paid jobs. Yeah. We had paying jobs, and then we had this mobile home park. It was 3 years. He didn't take a single day off between work and the mobile home park. Not one day. Not Christmas. Not Thanksgiving. Not a single day for 3 years. And so. Because there was always something. And so we close our laundromat at 8 p.m. It's awesome. A mobile home park doesn't close ever.
Awesome.
No matter what.
No, people are still there all night long. Yeah.
But it took that, we did have those early business experiences where I remember okay, we don't have to pay this bill. We can pay this bill. This place will put a lien on our property, but a lien's okay because you can pay that off later. We went through it all. And so we're just now in a different place in our entrepreneurial journey that it's not low pressure, but it's not like it was in the early days for sure.
Yeah. Well, and, again, I appreciate you sharing that because I think that gets skipped over a lot. And I know, I did the same thing. I had, especially early on with that laundromat, I was like, okay, I can't remember what is what, but I'd be the water bill, if I pay it late, there's no late fee for 30 days. So I'll just I'm going to pay the gas bill because that one has a late fee,
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to make those decisions. But that's like, it goes back to what you said, like you're a fundamentally different person. If I look at myself now and from before I bought that first laundromat, like fundamentally different person in a lot of ways. And that is a good thing, right? Those struggles, obviously nobody wants to go through the struggles. Don't want anybody to have to go through the struggles, but those struggles mold you and form you and shape you into the kind of person, kind of going back to your quote, Richard Branson or whoever it was, preparation meets opportunity, right? Like you've got to seize the opportunity, and those difficulties are preparing you for the next phase. Right. It levels you up. Now, things that seem like a really big deal and really stressed me out early on. Now I could handle no problem, not a big deal, because I'm capable of dealing with that level of problem. But then there's another level. There's always another level of problems, right? That you can get to. And it's part of that growth process. So tough, but has made you into who you are today, which is someone who's on the Laundromat Resource Podcast, which is a big deal.
I've made it. I've made it. Episode 160, is that what you said?
Ish. I'm not sure yet. So now I have to make it 160. Okay, episode 160.
Sorry,
this is it. No, we're keeping it in. So first of all, I wanted to kind of just address it and like just circle back to this. I'm glad that your teenager is in a better place. Because I don't want to gloss over that. I know that is a whole nother level of I'm sure you get to that point where you're like, we'll give up everything. It doesn't matter. All the assets, let's just get that under control. And so that's just a whole different level of that. So I'm glad that things are going well. And I do look forward to listening to the podcast and hearing a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think their journey is like the same as what you just described, though. Like it's weird as a parent or as a business owner, you want everything to be perfect and smooth sailing, but that isn't what makes someone an interesting, amazing, resilient human being, right? That's not what makes a strong business owner, is having everything smooth sailing. So it's really interesting to hear their experience where as a parent, you hate to see your child struggling. And now that we're on the other end, I'm like, holy cow, this kid is amazing because of that struggle. So it's pretty cool to watch. But both,
Yeah. No, I think that's great. And, and that's true. Like, I don't know if it was a quote or I can't remember, but something along the lines of, I'm going to butcher it so bad, but it just struck me when you were saying that, like, maybe it's a prayer. Maybe it's from Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm not sure actually. Now I'm like all over the place. I have no idea.
Grant me the serenity to.
But it's essentially.
Is that what it is?
Well, I was going to say it's essentially something along the lines of like, I don't think it's Alcoholics Anonymous anymore, but I don't pray for an easy life, but pray for the strength to endure an easy life or something like that. That's definitely not Alcoholics Anonymous. But
I don't know.
Essentially like, listen, like the struggles are kind of what make you, especially if you can endure them. Right. And so much of success in life and business and, just in general is about perseverance and, keeping your eyes on the long term, on the prize, and keep going even when it gets difficult.
And I don't think people see that. I think sometimes people just see the successes that you have. And I don't know if it's an element of jealousy or I don't know. It might look really easy from the outside, and what they haven't seen is all of the struggle to get there. So it's always interesting.
Yeah. Okay. I thought that was great. A great little rabbit trail we went down. So thank you for sharing all that stuff. That was great. All right. So you took over this thing. Let's focus on the laundromat side of things, especially the couple months where you were working full time and kind of running this business. What was that like for you?
So again, we bought this, the previous owners had owned it for 26 years. And part of the closing agreement, which I would highly recommend for anyone, is we requested 1 week of training after closing. So they stayed on for 1 week and literally trained us. I took a week off of work and trained us on everything and everything they could. And we also wrote into the contract a year of consultation afterwards. So we could call them for anything. We wrote that into the contract, and it was just such a great transition. And these people who still come in, like I could still call and ask them questions and they still come in and say hello. They would have provided that anyway, but it's always a good idea to just have it written into the contract. So there's my tip.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So
now you have to come up with another one for later in the secret sauce and pro tip segment. So you just wasted it.
I always like to tell people what to do. I'm sure I've got much more up my sleeve. So I took a week off of work and got trained by them. So that was really helpful. And then I kind of made a commitment to myself. Like, I know nothing about laundry or owning a laundromat. I said, I'm just going to keep everything. I'm not changing anything. I'm keeping everything exactly the same. I kept the staff the same. I kept everything the same. And just learn and kind of get by as best I can. And that's what we did. And so my team that I inherited were great and committed, and I just appreciate them so much. And, there was definitely some long hours for sure. I'd come over on my lunch break. I'd come in at night and on the weekends, but it was fine because the previous owners had a well-oiled machine, and that's what I kept.
Well, why were they selling? Were they just retiring?
I think they were retiring. Yep.
Yeah. They owned it for a long time, and
they did. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And when you bought it, it was already cash flowing. It was already cash flow positive.
It was. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, we got lucky.
Yeah. Did you have to do much work to it after the fact?
Did we? So we didn't have to do anything. If we wanted to keep it exactly the way it was the day we bought it, it would be fine. It would be great. Like it would be good. But that's not necessarily our style. So after I was done,
what is your style?
I we tend to be all or nothing. And that's one of my challenges to myself. Like that's been, I listen to these podcasts and I see these people who are really taking off with their laundry business, and our kind of nature is to I don't know if competitive is the right word, but I got to one up. I got to more and more and more and more. And then I need to stop myself because I'm a new woman now. Remember, I'm like, no. Right. I need to hang out with my kids. I need to calm down. That is not what my goal is. And so I have this, I always picture this angel devil on my shoulder, I'm going to do more and more, and I'm going to create a laundry empire. And then I'm like, no, that's not what your goal is. Stop. So that's my constant struggle in my head.
That's wise though. I mean, genuinely, I'm not just saying that, but it is something that I would just say to you just to make you feel good. But I genuinely, in this instance, no, I do. I think that is wise because it's really easy to lose sight of the reason that we buy these businesses and run these businesses is to help give us the lives that we're trying to build for ourselves and our families. Right. And when we get, and maybe for you, not you specifically, but you listening out there, maybe for you, you just want to work all the, that's just what you do. I think of Alex Hormozy, who's all over YouTube talking business and stuff. And he says all the time, all I really want to do is just work all the time. That's fine. He doesn't have any kids or anything like that. That's fine. But that's where knowing what your goals are, knowing your why behind why are you buying this business? Why are you running this business? Why do you think you should grow it? And then filtering your decisions through that. I think that's very difficult to do, but that is a critical key to success. I think in anything is trying to remember, this business is a tool to make an impact in the community. Business is a tool to give me the lifestyle, my family, the lifestyle that we need, or to free up my time or whatever your goal is. And then don't deviate from that goal. And you mentioned too, maybe this is part of where that lesson came in, but you mentioned too on the storage, which if anybody's interested, reach out to Amanda, on the storage thing where you're I don't know why we bought that. That wasn't against, that wasn't aligned with our goals. Yeah. Right. And it probably was just because of the pressure of the 1031 timeline and stuff that forced you to do it. But that was a critical insight right there, right? When you said that, I was like, oh yeah, she's noticing that was not in alignment with her goals. And, that struggle of ambition, but keeping in mind, what's the real end game here and trying to align with that. It's a struggle.
You
I deal with it too.
articulated my everyday, my everyday thoughts, because I do tend to want to do more and more and more, but we have a very, very clear goals, and it's not about doing more and more and more. So, yeah.
Well, I set aside about an hour a day to go into your head and dig around in there and see what you're thinking about.
If you could clarify a few more things for me, that would be great.
It's a scary place in there. Let me just say. Just kidding. No, that's, I remember when I was like, I'm super excited about this. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm already like, I'm validating that statement right now. No, I think this is like really good because this is a lot of like the behind the scenes stuff that we don't get to a lot on the episode, but this is like the real stuff. Like I'm identifying with like everything that you're saying right now. I'm like feeling that myself. Right. And I struggle with a lot of the same things myself. I think there's a lot of people out there who either are also, have also, or will also. When they get there. So, okay. So you take me back to May then, when you're out of your job and you're like, okay,
here we go.
Laundromat is my thing now. Like, this is my life. Like, were you like, what did I do? This is my life now. I'm folding laundry.
No,
or were you like,
I'm
yes,
like,
let's go for
this
it.
is my life. I'm like, like I said, we were in a place where I needed to I needed everything in our life to calm down, like everything, from my brain to our just chaos. And so I learned how to be a laundry attendant. I filled in shifts for people, but I didn't like put myself on the schedule regularly, but I'd come in and fold laundry. So I had to, again, I'm not a domestic person. I'm not a clean person. The first load of laundry I ever separated, like darks and lights or anything, was here at this laundromat. I've never done that. I don't do that at my house, like whatever.
I don't do that either.
So I had to learn how to do all of that stuff. And then I really wanted to, there wasn't a lot of, I'm big on creating a business and a model that stands outside of any one person. I do not want it to depend on me. I want a business in a box, essentially, because I want to be able to fall off the face of the earth and the business to keep going. And so what I had started to do is just kind of create some actually written processes, manuals, policies, which the previous owners had, but they weren't necessarily written down anywhere. They all existed within them. And so the business really depended on them a lot. And I want to be able, our long-term goal is to be able to travel full time. That is what we are working towards. And so I want to be able to travel full time. So from day one, it was about how do we build a business that can support itself and can run itself without us there. So slowly but surely. And so there are two things that needed to happen to the business. One, we needed to create these systems that exist without us having to be there and outside of us. And two, we needed enough revenue. We still need enough revenue to be able to do that. And so how do I get this business to that place? And I do believe that the potential is there. And we're getting there. So there were a couple different things I started to do. One, create processes and operations that were concrete and written down. And two, starting a little bit of a rebrand. So, cleaning and laundry and domestic things aren't my thing, but people are my thing. And so we started to create a brand and a brand voice of like, really, I tried to be really human-centered, using myself as the example. Like, I hate laundry. I don't want to do laundry. I love other people's laundry, but now. But how do we create this atmosphere where we take America's second most hated chore and make it fun and understanding and just make people's lives better? Like, my goal is I want people to walk into our laundromat and be absolutely wowed and feel better. And so when they leave, I want them to feel better than they did when they came in, whatever that means to that person, right? So it's different for every person. So I really started working a lot on brand. I started working with my team on brand, with my customers on brand. Like, I want to recognize that life is hard for people for many different reasons, and laundry is another thing that makes life hard. And so how do we make people's life easier and better? And so that's what I just started. I tried doing that. Whether it's kind of fun painting on a wall, or just a friendly, like, hello when you come in, or feeling safe and included when you come in, like that is what I worked on.
I feel like that's just like a mic drop. We should just wrap up right now. Like that was awesome. Yeah. No, seriously, like that is so cool. I wrote down, I want people to feel better when they leave than when they came in. I thought that was like, dude, if that's your end goal, like you cannot fail. Like if that's everything that you're working towards, like you cannot fail. Like how, like people make decisions every day based on how they feel. And if they feel better when they leave than when they came in, like if you can succeed in that, then you're ready to go. Like you're traveling the world already.
I don't
like
know about that, but it's human. That's human-centered design, right? Like that's what some of my training is. I was my last job was innovation, and it's all about kind of design thinking and human-centered design. And I'm a clinical social worker. Like I don't know laundry, I know people, and this is what people all generally need the same thing, which is to feel cared for and to feel safe and to feel appreciated and to feel less burdened with life. That's what people need. So
yeah, that sounds nice to me.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, man, I'm so psyched up right now. This is so good. Okay. So you get in there and you're like ready to go. You're taking some shifts. Did you end up keeping everybody on board who was with the previous owners? Did anybody leave, or did you have to let anybody go?
Nope. There was one person who had been on medical leave when we first purchased the mat, and I couldn't fill those shifts because I was working. So I had to fill those shifts. So, but she kind of stayed on pool, and still to this day kind of comes, she's retired, but I've called her in all last summer. We were doing a summer camp and needed extra folders, and she comes in to fold we kept everyone. We still have one person, has been here for 14 years. She's still here. She trained us and she's here. We hope she stays forever. But we've done is add staff. I think there's been 2 staff who have left. One was a student, and laundry life wasn't her goals. And then another, because of life circumstances, she had to move out of state. But other than that, we've been really fortunate to be able to keep all of our staff and just add to it. Because that's awesome. Another thing, right? Like we don't pay the best around. We don't have health benefits. Like we're a small business. This is not the most lucrative place to work. So my goal is always to not only make life better for our customers, but to make life better for our employees. If you have to come to work, you might as well enjoy it. And so I'm really cognizant of that. This should not be a stressful job. There are stressful moments, but this should not be stressful. And if it is, then I'm not doing my job. And so I try and create a place where people want to come to work. That's my goal always too.
How do you do that?
I don't know. I'm trying to be nice, flexible. Like you understand you just think about what is it that makes people tick? Like why are they there, and what's motivating in them, and what kind of fills their bucket rather than depletes their bucket. And so for some people, they just need a little bit of a calm place and a little bit of extra money, and that's fantastic. And for some people, this is their retired, this is their social outlet, and that's great. And so it's just understanding the things that motivate them and make them tick, and what the things that make them happy, and do it. I don't micromanage. So
simple.
It is simple. It's just people, right? People are complicated, but they're simple too.
It's true. It is true. And I mean, obviously you've said like 5 times, I don't know laundry, I know people, right? Like obviously you're gifted with people. Just talking to you right now, like you can just tell you're gifted with people, you understand, you have good insight, and you have a lot of life experience to draw from. Like I think a lot, you're talking about branding, and you're talking about, hey, here's what people want. I'm hearing your story in that where
I'm actually kind of selfish. I'm just designing it for what I want.
No, but genuinely, like I think that's like, you've been through it. Your family went through it. You know what it feels like. You know how hard life can get, and you empathize with that. And so you just say, hey, look, I know how hard life can get. One of the little pebbles in our shoe is laundry. So I'm going to try to alleviate just that little tiny thing, from people's lives, and try to make it as good as it possibly can be, of an experience for them. Right. And I think, your insight into people, I mean, it's simple. It sounds very simple, but for a lot of people, it's not that easy to get what you just expressed in how to how to relate to people and how to treat people and how to do that in your business. It can be very difficult, especially, when you're trying to figure out, quarter jams and plug drains and machines that break down and employee drama and yada, yada, yada. And all of a sudden everything gets all muddy, right? Like that period in your life where everything was just like chaos. It's hard to make good decisions, hard to see clearly what to do. And so I think, what you expressed seems very obvious to you and should be obvious, but is not obvious a lot of times to a lot of business, not just our industry, but a lot of business owners, so I think it's really insightful.
We all have our strengths. What's not obvious to me is like following processes. I know I need to do them, but following processes and consistency and schedules, not great with that. Finishing tasks, also not great with that.
Yeah. Well, you're an entrepreneur. That's why that's just comes with the territory. Well, I was going to ask you though, kind of along those lines, you said, hey, look, one of the things I did because I'm trying to make it, my business not centered around one person is I've got to get everything down on paper, or metaphorically on paper, to where everything is out of my head and is transplantable into other people's heads. I'm just kind of curious. I first of all, kudos to you for doing that. I see the best owners doing that. But I'm curious. I think, if I think about it for myself, I'm like, man, that seems super overwhelming to try to create a manual or a process. And, how did you do that? Or how do you think about creating a manual for your business?
Yeah. So I have in my previous life, in middle management, I had done the same thing because, I have to think about the why. So again, I'm not great with details. This is like the bane of my existence is having to write down step-by-step instructions because I'm more like, I don't know, and just do it, like whatever, just do it. But you have to write down step-by-step instructions. And so I have to first remember why I'm doing this. And it's because I have a short shelf life of my attention span. I know every 2 years I'm like ready to do something else. And I feel responsibility to whatever my responsibility is. I take that very seriously. And so I don't want to leave any program, business, anything left high and dry. And so that's what motivates me to do these manuals. I want to be able to step out of whatever role it is that I have and feel like I have left it in good hands for someone other than me. I don't want people to need me. Some people I think hold processes, especially maybe not in entrepreneurial areas as much, but like in the corporate world, sometimes you have people hold knowledge and hold processes as a power move. I have zero desire to have any power. I want no power, actually. I want no.
Yeah, that's right.
So I keep the why in mind. And then I try and be vigilant about just doing one thing at a time. Okay, I have to do this process. I'm literally going to write down the steps right now. And then like take the time, like over time, you end up getting more and more and more in your manual. In theory, that's what I do. And in practice, I kind of do that sometimes. And then other times I say, okay, I'm going to literally sit down and just write these all out for hours at a time. You just have to do it. And remember why you're doing it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, yeah.
It's not fun. But
some people think it's fun.
Maybe it's not fun for me. They can come do mine.
No, me neither. Well, it's funny. When I first hired, so Michelle is the admin over here. And when I first hired her, I was like, look, I'm just kind of a disaster when it comes to all this admin stuff. I'm like, I'm just going to give you everything. It's been sitting on my plate forever. It's going to take a long time to get it done, but I'm just going to hand it to you and you just chip away at it. And literally later that day, everything on that task list that was going to take me weeks to do was finished and like better than I ever could have done. And I was like, I don't even know what to do.
We lost Michelle.
Give you, and that was everything. I was like, good grief.
We
how did
Michelle.
You do? I know. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, this place does not run well without her. So, remembering like the why and all of that, like, I think that it drives my wife crazy actually, but I'm very like why driven. If I lose sight of my why, I start to spiral quickly. And like, yeah. And so I think that is key, especially when you're doing a task that you don't want to do, but that you know is going to help get you towards your goal. That why you've just got to it's got to be a super strong why. And it's got to be in the forefront at all times. You've got to be able to lean on that thing when you're like, I've just got to go do this hours of writing step-by-step processes down, which is huge. Also, I empathize a lot with wanting to do something new every 2 years, which I do. And I've been doing Laundromat Resource for 4 years now, and multiple times. I mean, you can ask Dave Menz. I've had a couple of conversations with him where I was like, I think I'm just going to stop doing it. Like Laundromat Resource. I think I'm just going to stop. I still like doing it. I love doing this stuff. I just want to do something different. And then he'd always be like, well, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, well, listen, you want to do something great or not? Like, all right, I'll keep going.
I love Dave Menz. I think he's amazing. And I had a chance to talk to him and Carla at the Wash Dry Fold conference this fall. And I'm like, they are so good at optimization and details and logistics. I'm like, I understand and why you have to do those things. And I'm like, these details, I can't be bothered.
I know.
Which is why that's where, world.
I was going to say, that's where, I mean, if you haven't read it, anybody out there, Who Not How is an incredible book, because I am a very how person. Like, if there's a task to do, I'm like, okay, well, how am I going to do this? And the book essentially boils down to, instead of saying, how can I do this? Why don't you just find the best person to do it and say, who do I know who can do this and who's going to be good at it, who's going to enjoy it. It's in their, core competencies, their unique abilities, Dan Sullivan's term, right? Like, it's what they do and who can do it. And it's going to get done faster, better, and a whole lot less stress, right? Like, sometimes you just got to find that right who, too. Solid book.
I just hired my Michelle 2 weeks ago. Her name's Megan, though.
Hey,
but I'm super excited about it.
How's it going so far?
2 weeks ago. Awesome. I worked with her at my old job. Good. And so I'm like, she's just getting trained now, but I can't wait. Yes. Because I need the who. I need the who to someone to finish all these tasks for me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I love that. Okay. So you inherited kind of these employees. You've got a couple more on board. Everybody's been great. I mean, I think that's a huge key to success, right? Is getting the right people on the team. So awesome that you inherited some great ones and that you found a couple great ones. Was there an existing, are you doing drop off and pickup and delivery?
So there was already drop off, and we just started pickup and delivery last July.
Okay, cool. Was the existing pickup and delivery, was that like a decent part of the business?
The existing drop off. So there was no pickup and delivery. So there was drop off.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, it was a very, very small percentage of the business, actually.
Okay.
I can tell you how much it was because I prepared for the first time ever. No. Yeah. So in 2019, which is like the last year that you can't really count 20 and 21 because those were COVID years. But in 2019, Wash Dry Fold was 11% of their revenue. And in 2023, it was 24% of our revenue. So, So you've been able to grow it. We've grown Wash Dry Fold 2019 compared to 2023. We grew at 244%. So there was a lot.
Whoa, 244%.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, that's awesome.
They had the service, but it certainly wasn't anything that they put a lot of attention in. It's labor intensive, right? And they were getting ready to retire. They were really running their laundromat in a non-labor intensive way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, can I ask, like, how did you grow at 244%?
I think we just
by being awesome. Be honest. It's just by being awesome.
Obviously.
Because you're awesome.
We just, it's a small town. This is small town living. This is rural. The previous owners didn't do any advertising at all. We don't do a ton of advertising, but we do a little, we do a little bit of social media, which I'm really inconsistent on, which is why I have my Megan. But word of mouth is a huge thing around here. And we're pretty involved in our community. It was just kind of a new And when there's something new, that's like talk of the town, right? So word spreads, and I don't know.
New being new owners. I mean, did people did they not like the last people?
No, I think they did, but they were very different people, right? They're meticulous and they're great. And I am a hot mess and put myself on TikTok and say it all, like whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But,
that's awesome. Well, yeah. And there's sort of that, people first kind of mentality and a task first mentality too. So I'm sure that plays a little
and
bit
I'm
into
envious
it.
of the people who have task first mentalities because their life is a lot more productive than mine. Like they get their stuff done.
That's right. Yeah. But you have fun doing it, whatever it is.
Sometimes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, it sounds like you just kind of showed up and people just kind of flocked to you. That's kind of what I'm gathering, like a little bit of word of mouth and a tiny bit of advertising and
put some new paint on the walls, which it was very, very clean before, but it was like one color. And so now we did graffiti on the walls and put music on the TV and just.
Cool. I mean, you just improved the atmosphere a little bit and I love it.
We brought a little flair. We brought our little bit of flair.
Yeah, that's great. And then you started pickup and delivery like a year ago. How's that going? Because it can be tough. It can be tough to start pickup and delivery.
Yeah.
But how's it been for you?
It is okay. I haven't, I admittedly haven't, I haven't put enough effort into it, honestly. It was more like, because I am a little bit competitive, I'm like, I want to be the first. I've got to do it. I just have to start it. And that's kind of how we do everything, right? I just need to start it. And then we weren't the first in the area, but we're the first with an app. Like I think other places you have to like fill out a PDF form and then call them and email and do things that I would never in a million years do myself. So we just got it started and figured out all the logistics and the software. And we have a pretty good base, and it's probably our pickup and delivery portion is probably like maybe breaking even, which is fine.
Okay.
But I haven't advertised it enough. I haven't done any outreach because I kind of get a little bit consumed with the everyday operations, all of the stuff of a laundromat owner, right? Filling empty shifts, filling vending machines, all of that stuff, which my Megan will be doing. So I definitely want to put some effort into some actual marketing for our pickup and delivery. So it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Or, I mean, do you feel like I'm just curious here.
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like where is your, okay. So I'm just gonna kind of sneak this in here because I'm putting together something that I think is going to be pretty cool for people. But one of the things that's going to be a component of this thing that I'm putting together sounds very ambiguous.
I know.
Secretive, which I like actually. But anyways,
tune in for the next episode to find out.
Tune in. Yeah, that's right. I'm just going to divulge a tiny piece every episode, and in about 100 episodes, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, we'll look forward to that.
That's right. But one piece of this thing I'm putting together is like a personal time audit, right? And saying, okay, how am I spending my time? And, what can I, out of the tasks that I'm doing with my time, what can I get rid of, and then what can I outsource, and like, who's my who? So I'm curious. I mean, you said you get consumed with a lot of the operations, so the advertising falls by the wayside, and then your new kind of person coming in is going to help with some of the operational stuff, and you're going to do advertise. I mean, do you feel like advertising is like your thing? Like that's your thing that you should be spending time on, or should you find a who for that? Or, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I do know what you mean.
I'm curious.
It's a good question. It's a very good question. If I could outsource everything, I would outsource everything, and it costs money, right? And so, it's that like resource versus like, it's anytime you're scaling anything, right? I've got to like build up my revenue so that I can, get more resources in, which is exactly what happened with finally hiring the manager. I knew I needed someone else I knew I didn't have the right who. I am not the right who to be running the everyday like logistics. I know that. My to-do list is forever. I don't complete tasks, but I needed my revenue in a certain place that I could then bring this person in and now relieve that pressure. And I think the same thing, I anticipate the same thing with like marketing and business development. I'm not a marketer. I can Google lots of things and I can figure anything out, right? But that's not what I do. It's not my expertise, but it's going to be until I have enough revenue that I can hire someone else out to do it. And I will someday. Like, I don't have any desire to turn into a full-time marketing person or whatever, but this is what has to happen to get us to a place where I can then hire my who.
I love it. I mean, that's like the thing, right? Is like, I see a lot of us, I mean, all over the place, not just our industry, but I see a lot of us like, we need to do, whatever the task is has to get done. And so we just do it. And that's part of being an entrepreneur, right? Is like, you just wear a ton of hats, especially early on. But I like the intentionality of, and that's like one of my pet peeves. I talk about this a lot with my wife. I'm like, one of my pet peeves is I do not want to just let stuff happen to us. I want to at least be intentional, right? You can't control everything. I'm not trying to control everything, but I want to be intentional, about life. Like, should we live where we're living? And if so, that's great. And if not, where should we be living? Mm-hmm. Or, just, general stuff. Should our kids go to school where they're going to school? Or, just be intentional about stuff. And the same thing, that's why I was kind of curious about your marketing is like, is that what you should be doing? And I love that, idea of like, yes, probably initially. I mean, ideally, no, but initially, yes, because I want to get to a point, and it's having that why again, like get to that point where then I can bring somebody on and being intentional about it. And I like the intentionality that you've got going kind of in everything that you're doing. And obviously you have a good understanding of yourself and your skills and all that, and just being intentional.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's hard to keep that vision. Like, we have a clear vision of what we want, and it's hard to keep. It takes effort to keep it at the forefront. Mm-hmm. But you have to, right?
Yeah.
Or I could keep doing this exact thing that I'm doing for the rest of my life, and it would be fine. It would be fine.
Yeah.
It would be fine.
But it's not your goal though.
No, it's not my goal. Yeah.
Not your goal.
So.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, what do you think? I'm just curious, like, what do you think is gonna change, like in the business or in your personal life by bringing on your new manager?
Oh, because I'm kind of a magical thinker, I think that every single one of my challenges and problems is obviously going to be solved immediately.
I agree. Yeah, I'm the same way.
And then I'm like, oh crap, this isn't real. But what do I think is going to be changed? I think that I hope that I'm going to be able to actually start growing the pickup and delivery. I hope that I'm going to be able to start growing the pickup and delivery to a place where it brings in more revenue and then can get us to our next goals. Like, I'd like to eventually do a retool or expand. I know to reach our personal goals, which is everything that we're working towards, our personal goals, which is to travel full time after my youngest graduates high school. So that's 4 years from now. It might be a pipe dream, but I put it out there into the universe and maybe it will actually happen. So
I don't feel like that's a pipe dream. Yeah.
I think it's having this manager is the next step to increase revenue so that we could then get it to a place. My next step would be increase revenue so that we can then grow the business so that we can really exponentially increase revenue. And I don't know how we're going to, I think there's a couple different paths that we could take. We could turn it into a pickup and delivery wash, dry, fold. Like, we could really expand that business and do the night shift like Dave Mentz does. That we have some square footage. We could actually just expand the footprint of the laundry area because we have we have a tanning salon in our building as well. Or we could buy a second location. So one of those paths. But the first step is I need to get my manager in so I can do more marketing, so I can increase revenue, so I can then take that next step, whatever that's going to be.
Also, you could get rid of all your washers and dryers and add more tanning. I'm just saying.
Not doing it.
That's okay. Okay.
We could do that.
All right. Well,
but I'm not doing that.
Just saying.
That's definitely not in my goal.
Think about it. That's all. You could have the tannest city in Maine.
Oh yeah, we could.
You know what I mean? That's like a badge of honor right there. Yeah. Awesome. No, I love that. And I think what I love about what you're doing is you're taking steps to like systematic. I know you've been saying a lot like systems and following the processes and stuff. I feel like I'm all over the place, but whether you realize it or not, like you're following a systematic process to grow your business. And I think it's because you have experience in this, in other avenues, in investing in mobile home parks and storage. And, if you want to buy that storage place, anybody out there, by the way, connect with Amanda.
17,000 square feet for sale.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's a lot of boats and RVs.
A lot of boats and RVs.
There. Yeah. No, but I love the systematic approach you're taking to it in growing, step by step, and not sort of overreaching your bounds, right? And having a plan and sticking to it, as best you can. Right?
I think sometimes it's easy. You're always your biggest worst critic, right? Like I'm more critical of myself than anyone will ever be of me. I hope. Anyway,
I used to think that until I ended up on YouTube, and then I don't know.
That's true. It's a whole new
somebody
world.
just told me the other day I am so boring to listen to. So I apologize that I've been talking so much.
And you're like, well, then stop listening, jerk.
I know. Well, I can't argue with them. It is what it is.
But I do like it's easy to get caught up in the day to day and get frustrated with not making the progress that I want to make, and I feel like I'm taking forever to get to these goals and everything, but it's important every now and then for myself to every now and then like step back and look at, you feel like you're spinning your tires, but you are making progress. Like I pulled some numbers together last night, just preparing to meet with you, and looking at our growth. And I look at these numbers all the time, but I kind of usually do it really quickly. And I was like, holy, I feel like I've been spinning my tires, but we haven't. We've grown significantly. It's okay. Like I don't think we would actually even want to grow any faster than we have, because that would generate other problems. So just to take a moment to come out of the weeds for a second and recognize the progress that has been made, I think is really important. It's important for me, for my psyche.
Yeah. So. Well, yeah. And I think, visionaries, entrepreneurs, we tend to be really good at seeing the big goal, seeing the end, like kind of what we're trying to do. And we're really bad at looking backwards and seeing how far we've come.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that is, it's something that I've been learning a lot too. Like, I already mentioned, I don't think I ever mentioned that on a podcast before, but I already mentioned that I've thought multiple times about just stopping, doing this. And, and part of it's because I see like what this could be, and it feels like, I'm nowhere near that. But if I stop and look back at, I just got a notification not that long ago where it was like, I got my first 25 downloads of the podcast. And I remember just being so psyched, 25 people. And I should be like, that's still really cool. Right. But there's so many more now. It's crazy, like where it's at now compared to where it was. But it feels, for entrepreneurs, I think, and visionaries, progress is never fast enough. And you never feel like you're doing enough. And it's tough, but
and like I said, you gotta like remember. And you're like number 1% of podcasts in the world.
Yeah, man, I know, it's crazy. A little laundromat podcast, so pretty cool. And that's good perspective to have, right? Is making progress towards the goal, and progress is the name of the game, right? Mm-hmm. And almost, I'd probably argue, and maybe you might argue back with me, because the end goal for you really is to travel full time. But I'd almost argue that just as important, if not even more important than hitting that end goal, is just to continue to grow and make progress, right? And continue to become who you're becoming. Because that's really what life is about. Life is not about an end destination. I guess that's probably part of the desire to travel, right? It's not about the end destination. It's about the journey, right? Yeah. And it sounds kind of cheesy, but it really is about progress. It's about growth, whether it's in our businesses, but also, and sometimes even more difficult to, quantify is our personal growth and our personal progress. And if you look back personally and see where you were, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and I think a lot of us would be surprised at kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
And like, I think we have real irony because we do want to travel full time, but we've always said like we have done all of our entrepreneurial stuff with the goal of like having more time. And the irony is that it's taken our time. Like we wanted to have more time with our kids. Well, guess what? Our kids are 15 and 17 now, and we missed out on a lot of their life because we were grinding and like, and that stinks. And so now, since we've gotten the laundromat and kind of like calmed down a little bit, we're trying to really. There are times that I could do much more grinding in the laundromat. There's a million more things I could do all day, every day. And I'm like, my 15-year-old doesn't have their license yet. I'm picking them up. I'm driving them places. I'm hanging out with them. Like, I can work on anything later. So it's always a hard balance.
Yeah. It is a hard balance, but I don't know. I don't know. I feel like this episode's kind of been therapy for me here a little bit. But
I am a licensed clinical social worker, just saying.
I appreciate it. I'm feeling it right now. No, but I've been thinking a lot too. Like my son just turned 13 and my daughter's 10. I'm like, dude, my son is going to be 18 in 5 years. I was like, we have like 4 summers left with him. I mean, he might be around after that. Who knows? Like what happens, but like 4 summers and then he's an adult, whether he's still in the house or not, like he's an adult in 4 summers. And I'm like, they just go so fast, and everybody says that and you feel it when you're a parent. But reflecting on that is like, and we said this earlier too, like there's just nothing more important than family and friends and community. And, if something's wrong with somebody in the family, it's like you give everything up just for things to be okay. And we forget that when things aren't going wrong, right? Things are good. And so we sacrifice that stuff to, make a few extra bucks or, whatever it is, try to get some accolades or fictitious accolades for sending late night emails or, whatever it is. Right. It's so easy to do. It's been a really good episode already.
There you go. Yeah.
This is good.
I know it's hard. All the cliches are true. It happens so fast.
I know it does. It does. Do your kids help out at all in the laundromat?
So my oldest is actually on payroll, but not the best of employees. So I'm like, you need to find a different job. You're out. So I haven't kept all of my staff. I got rid of my kid. And
that's great.
My youngest is, he comes and he actually helps a lot. Like he has a lot more interest in it. My oldest is, I think, destined to be a philosophy professor, like just, not hands-on, a little more cerebral, but my youngest, I can see him being an entrepreneur, and he comes in, he loves to like come in and take over the place, and he'll tell people how to do things. He'll fix things and he's a pretty good folder. He's fast and he's neat at folding. So yeah.
What about fitted sheets? Can he do the fitted sheets?
He can do a fitted sheet. He can. Yes, he can.
That's the true test.
Yeah.
That's the true test. That's awesome. That's awesome. What's the, we kind of already hit this a little bit, but like, do you have any specific like ambitions with your laundromat? Is it like a revenue number? Like, hey, we need this amount of money and then we feel like we can travel. Have you quantified that, by the way? Like, here's the goal. And
we know the goal. Yeah. Every day.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah. But then it also is the never enough. Like we have hit our, like if we knew when we were 25 years old that this is where we'd be right now, we would have thought we were like set for life. And now I'm like, no. It does move.
The goalpost moves.
Yeah, no, I know it sounds a little bit selfish, but our goal is 100% financial and lifestyle. Like, we live on a lake in Maine, so we want to stay there all summer and we want to travel all winter when our kids are graduated. So it's financial. Isn't that horrible?
That's great. No,
it's lifestyle.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I don't know, man, because I kind of grew up, honestly, like I grew up thinking not that money was bad, but that like being money driven was bad. Maybe I think I kind of felt like that.
No, I feel you. Yeah.
But the older I've gotten and looked around, and I'm like, if money is so bad and like being money driven is so bad, like everything we do is to get money. Like we work a third of our lives to get money. Like I think we can just acknowledge that. Like there's nothing wrong with that at all. And especially if you're you're money driven in order to free your life up. Like that's just kind of the reality of our culture, right? It takes money to live and, to have any kind of lifestyle. So I've done like a 180 on money and, I think you can go wrong if you go too far down that line. And it becomes all about money and you forget like you've passed all your goals a long time ago and you're still all day, every day, just, trying to get money and you forget about the rest of life. But I've kind of done a 180 since I was younger on money and my thoughts on money, because I just see like it's important. And even the people who in my life, at least I felt like were communicating that it's bad to be money driven, were spending the majority of their lives being money driven, even if they weren't acknowledging that. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like what you do, like, when you go to work all day, every day, and you're working full time and you're doing all this stuff, like I don't have time to give back to the community and do the good things for the world that I would want to. And make no mistake, if we have enough money to travel, like we aren't just going to go sightsee. Like we want to serve. We have we feel very fortunate in our lives. We do feel like we owe the world something. The world doesn't owe us anything. And but you need money to have that freedom to go do those things. Like I need money and energy to be able to put out more good in the world than we take. That's always the goal. We're never going to sit around and like watch TV or, live on a cruise ship. I can totally see us like doing service trips and everything, but, you need money to do that. And the journey to get there, I hope to do so with integrity, right? Like I'm not interested in giving people, like overcharging for service. I'm not interested in giving poor service so that I can line my pockets. That is truly not my interest. My interest is to give a fair price, fair service, fairly compensate my employees, fairly compensate us so that we can, and to do so with integrity while we make some money.
That's what I'm talking about.
Is that maybe that's an oxymoron?
No, I think it's, I think that is, I love that because it's like, I think why people get, I think why some people get like weird about people saying that they're wanting to make money and like, it's because there's a lot of examples of people doing it without integrity, right? There's like tons of examples of climbing the ladder by stepping on everybody's heads or big corporations screwing employees. And, there's just a lot of stories about that. And, probably most of them are true and some of them are not. And, but that's sort of that image that gets in there. But like having the goal to have financial freedom, to be able to live life on your terms, basically I think it's admirable. And being able to, have time freedom to serve, I think is great. And then doing that journey with integrity I don't know that there's anything more admirable than that. Like, you know what I mean? Like I think that's great. I think it's great. I just love everything that you're doing, really. Yeah,
we're trying. I don't know. I want to be able to lay my head on my pillow and know that like, no, I feel okay with my behavior and my actions for the day. I feel good.
Yeah. That's good. Well, and what's cool about laundry is that it gives you an opportunity to do that too, right? Like you can serve people, help them out with a legit need that they have every week.
It's just so concrete. They need their clothes washed and we're going to help them get their clothes washed. And there it is. Fair exchange, clear pricing, transparent. Like we're not surprising anyone. Yeah. So
don't get me started on transparent pricing. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. Awesome. Cool. I mean, that's, I guess, last question before we go to our next segment of the show. But do you like where you're at right now? How much time are you spending in your working in your laundromat?
That's a good question. It seems to come in waves. I don't know why it comes in waves. Probably because I'll fill in extra shifts and it'll be like my whole staff gets sick at the same time, right? Like, so all of a sudden I'll be like, gosh, I feel like I've worked on the actual, as an attendant, 25 hours this week. And then I'll go 2 months without filling a single shift. So there are some weeks that I spend, because I always I just like to swing by. I like to check in on things, whatever. So there are probably some weeks that I spend 5 hours on it and other weeks I spend 50 hours on it. And probably, I would say the average is probably maybe 15 hours a week.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, the challenge is you have to be ready. I am it, right? Like if my entire staff is sick, I am it. I am there. We're open 12 hours a day. That's where I am. So I have to be ready to be there, but I kind of meander around. I don't like a schedule. I come and go. I actually hate a schedule. So.
Me too. Me too. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
Also dress codes I hate, as you probably noticed on this podcast.
Don't get me started on that. If I had to go to a banquet for one of my kids' events yesterday and they said dress fancy and I was like, no. I don't put pants on anymore. I wear my leggings. And if you want me to put on anything else, then I'm not going. So I went in my
just
leggings.
Wear a longer shirt and it's
Whatever.
Like a dress.
No. I ain't doing it.
Yeah, that's right. I love it. All right. We got a segment of the show called Down to Business.
Let's get down to business.
What's happening?
Awesome. That's just the little, that's the little down to business thing. It's all good. The down to business is just getting a little more details, filling in the gaps. We talked about a lot of this stuff already. Remind me again, when did you buy this laundromat?
February of 22.
22, day after Valentine's Day, right?
February 15th, 10 a.m.
How romantic. Yeah. Can't think of the better time to buy a laundromat.
Exactly.
Can you tell us what does it cost to do laundry in Maine? Whether that's self-serve prices or drop off, pickup and delivery. What does that look like? So
we, I think, might be the most expensive self-serve around. Our 20-pound washers are $5.50. Our 40-pound washers are $7.50. Our 60-pound washers are $9.50. And we just this month bought 2 80-pound washers that are $11.50. All of those prices we inherited. We inherited the prices. The previous owners were great. They paid very close attention to utility costs and just the kind of the things that were happening in the utility space and made sure that they adjusted prices accordingly. And then to dry, we have 30-pound and 45-pound dryers, and it is 4 minutes for a quarter.
For both of them, no matter both sizes?
Yep. And then pick up a delivery. We are not, for wash, dry, fold, we are not the most expensive, actually. It's $1.75 a pound for drop off. And then pick up a delivery, I do have it at $2 a pound plus a $10 or $5 pickup, $5 delivery. So $10 pickup and delivery cost that we waive if your order is $50 or more. The pickup and delivery, I think that a challenge that I didn't mention is we are rural. We're in a rural area. And so there's just some challenges that go with pickup and delivery in such a rural area. So I needed to be able to cover those costs.
Yeah, your radius spreads out quite a bit.
Yep.
When you're in a rural area.
Yep.
Put more miles on those cars or those vans.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you guys, just out of curiosity, do you guys have a van? Do you guys use personal vehicles? How do you guys do that?
I bought a van. That's what kicked off our service. I was kind of waiting for a good used van to buy, and I finally found one. And so that's why we started. That's when we started.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did you hire a driver right away or ever? Are you driving? Do you have an employee driving?
When we started last summer, I did most of the driving because really I just wanted to figure out the logistics of it.
Yeah.
And I did
create that manual.
Yeah, exactly. And I did hire an extra helper. And now I don't, I mean, I can drive obviously, but now I have people do it each day. We're only on the road 4 days a week. So Monday through Thursday right now. And we go to certain communities on certain days just because our route density isn't like our radius is probably, if we went from one side of our, like where we serve to another, it's probably an hour drive. So we don't go to all of those locations every day.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a challenge too of, figuring out, the on-demand versus route-based, but in the rural areas, I mean, you almost have to do it route-based.
Yeah.
That's like you said, it's a lot of driving.
It is a lot of driving. And our route density is not fantastic yet. Someday maybe it will be, but not today.
Yeah. You got any strategies that you're chomping at the bit to deploy to try to fill in that density? Yeah.
So I actually have reached out to a local university and have offered drop-off prices, like wash, dry, fold drop-off prices, which is 25 cents a pound cheaper, and no delivery fee if they had a location that the students could come and drop their laundry off at, and then we could just like almost like a locker system without the lockers, but we could pick it up and drop it off at that same location. I'd like to go to some construction companies and do the same. Like I would go to a construction site and just pick up all of their laundry. We have a lot of, in Maine, there's not a lot of time to do, like in Maine, all the construction happens in the summer. So, and so they bring in a lot of travelers for that. And I would go to that one location. So I need to do a little reach out with that stuff.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. Good ideas there. Do you have any sense of like turns per days or pounds of laundry you guys are processing or anything like that?
I do. Actually, I don't have the pounds in front of me right now, but turns per day, we're really averaging, I can tell you exactly what we were averaged in May. We averaged an average of 3 turns per day per machine. So nice. 87 turns per day in May, which isn't our busiest month. October actually was our busiest month.
Yeah, that's awesome though.
Yeah, we had a lot of 20-pound machines. We inherited a lot of 20-pound machines, which don't get the turns per day. Our 60s and our 40s do. We just got rid of 320s to get our 280s, and those, we've had them for 2 weeks, and they are already performing better.
I was say, are people liking the 80s?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Well, the path is clear going forward, at least. You know,
maybe
keep putting in bigger machines in there.
They're expensive though.
They are expensive these days. Yeah. Are you guys fully attended? Open to close?
Yep. Open to close. Yep.
And I know you have a shortened hour. I don't know. I don't want to say shortened hours, but you close, I'd say probably a little on the early side at like 8.
When we bought it closed at 7. So it was open 8 to 7. When we bought it, and we kept it that way until last Labor Day. I just expanded it to 8 to 8. Around here, places close. There are some unattended laundromats around here that are open, I think, until 10 or 11. I don't think we have any 24-hour laundromats. I don't think. It's not an expectation around here. In some of the big cities, obviously it is, but it isn't here. So I feel comfortable with the 8 to 8. And again, cool. I like to be able to close. I kind of love that. Owning a mobile home park, you don't ever close. And so I'm not really interested in getting calls in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Been there, done that.
Yeah. Not interested.
Are you doing coins, card, hybrid? What's your payment system right now?
Both. We have Spider Wash on all of the machines that came with the laundromat. Again, previous owners were, I think, probably the first in the area to do cards on machines, which was very smart. Had a lot of forethought. So Spider Wash is still there, and we have coins as well. And I don't think in this area anytime soon we could get rid of coins. It's just the culture of our state. We're the oldest. We have the oldest age in the nation. Maine is an older population, so we have a lot of.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
more than Florida. Well, I guess Florida's got a lot.
Florida, yeah, we're old. Too. We're old.
Yeah.
And kind of set in our ways, our New England ways. So
yeah, that's all right though.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I did not prep you with this question, so if you don't know, that's fine. But do you have any sense of like how many people use coins versus that Spider Wash system? So
it's about 80% of our revenue is Spider Wash and 20% is coins.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. You're giving yourself a bad name over here saying you guys are all old. I was expecting maybe the reverse of that.
Oh, really? No.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. That's quite a bit.
It is. Yeah. But there's a certain portion of the population that they're not.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. Okay. That's not what I was I'm glad I asked that question. That's not what I was expecting. Yeah. Cool. That's awesome. And we already kind of talked about how many hours you spent. So I don't know. Anything else we need to know about your business?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I mean, that feels pretty good. I feel like we got a good picture.
Salon, that's what, yeah.
Oh yeah. How is the tanning salon, by the way?
How is it depends on who you ask. Tanning is not my passion.
I'm asking you. Yeah. I mean, you weren't planning on doing all tanning booths, so not that great, I guess.
The previous owner loved it because tanning was quite an industry in the 90s. Like I mean, that tanning was their bread and butter for a long time. Loved it. And
really, okay.
Once your tanning beds are paid for, they're pretty, like, it's really almost all revenue.
Profit.
Yeah. So in theory, that should make me love it, but I don't. As I said before, I'm a little bit selfish, and I design my business around what I want, right? Like, things that I need in my life, and tanning isn't. I'm not a tanner.
You don't want to be like oiling people up before they jump in that bed.
But people love it, and I thought the theory kind of in theory, right? You want people to spend when they're here to do your laundry. You want them to spend money, maybe tanning, but we actually don't have a huge crossover. It's really two different populations. And the tanning beds are old. They're older tanning beds. The revenue has gone up with us, but not in the same exponential way that Wash Dry Fold has. And so I don't necessarily want to invest in new beds. And I see it as a distraction. I want to get really good at what we do, which is laundry. And we have to go back and clean those tanning beds. And it takes like probably 60 seconds to 90 seconds every time to clean a bed, which doesn't sound like a lot, but every time someone has to transition from one task to another, they're losing a huge amount of productivity, and it's a distraction. And it just, it's not necessarily the direction we want to go in. But that being said, people do love it, and it is a service that we offer, and it brings in revenue that we're not ready to give up.
Here's the real question. This is the real question. When one of those suckers breaks down, are you going to replace it?
And that's the bane of, yes. And that's actually the real reason why I don't love tanning. First of all, we have had one break. We had 7 when we purchased it. Now we have 6 because we got struck by lightning our first summer, and it fried like half of tanning. And we ended up having to like Frankenstein 2 beds to make one, whatever. And when something breaks on these beds, there is a tanning community, but it's not like the laundry community. Like, it's not as easy to fix as laundry seems to be. And so there's no one around to fix it. There's people in New York. I could fly someone in from New York to fix a bed. So it's me and my husband trying to figure out how to fix these tanning beds, which are hard. So you probably actually hit on the real reason why I don't like tanning. It's not that about the industry, and it's not about the distraction. It's actually the anxiety about those beds breaking that I don't know how to fix. That's what it is, actually.
Yeah.
If we're gonna be really honest.
I'm not hearing a clear answer to if you're going to replace it when it breaks or not. I feel like you're skirting the question right now.
Are we going to replace a bed? No. Are we going to try our best to fix it? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the
I'll
answer.
allow it.
I'm not going to replace it. I'm going to fix it until we can't fix it anymore.
Awesome. Okay.
But people have packages, like they buy packages that don't expire. So that will be a nightmare.
They don't expire?
We have some that are 30-day packages, but there's some like you can buy 15 sessions that don't expire or whatever. And that will be the nightmare.
Yeah.
So it'll take some planning.
Like, we've set up lawn chairs on the roof.
Yeah.
And you can only use them in the summer.
Yeah.
So
if anyone is listening to this, that's our tanning customer, we're not getting rid of them.
No, they're staying.
They're staying.
However, if you want to buy a boat and RV storage,
I'm your person.
Connect with Amanda.
Yeah. It's a cash business. It's actually a great business. It's just not, it's not where our goal is right now.
It's not aligned.
It's not aligned. We took on too much all at once, and that's not where my interest is right now. So we have a great business for someone who wants it.
That's right. All right, we got another segment called Secret Sauce. Ready for this?
Oh, yeah.
Listen up, it's the secret sauce.
There it is. Just jam out a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Secret sauce. I don't know. Sometimes I get rid of that and I don't use it. And then sometimes I'm just in the mood to just rock out a little bit and use the things that I have. So sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. But all right, secret sauce is this. What's your best tip for current owners to help them improve their business?
Oh, gosh, that's a hard. Usually I'm like, I'll tell you what. My best tip for current owners to help them improve their business is, I think a lot of what we talked about is understand your why. What are you trying to do with your business? And then keep that at the forefront. Like, build everything around what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And maybe that's a revenue target, and maybe that's a lifestyle goal, and maybe it's you want to be the best laundromat around goal. but keep laser focused on that ultimate end goal, and then you design things around it. And don't take it too seriously.
I love
it's just
that.
laundry. It's just laundry. That's what I say to all of my employees. I don't know if there's anything in this business that can't be fixed with a gift card or an apology. Really. It's just laundry. It's a flood, we mop it up. And if it's a broken machine, we fix it. And if it's a sweater that gets caught in a dryer, then we give them a gift card, whatever.
I love it.
Yeah.
You have this really good, this is a compliment coming your way right now, so brace yourself. You have this really great gift of simplifying things down to their essence, right?
Maybe.
You do. I mean, maybe it's part of the social work thing, or maybe it's just the inherent gift, but you have a really good gift of that.
My simple mind.
So, hey, you know what they say about, people are geniuses not the people who make things sound complicated, but who make complicated things sound simple. So I don't know.
Thank you. I'm working
Inference
on
here is that you're a genius.
I'll say, oh yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah. No.
You were about to say thank you.
Spastic. I was about to say thank you. And now I'm like, you're wrong.
No, that was a genuine, I genuinely mean that. Again, I would, blow smoke at you and tell you that when I don't mean it, but this instance, I do genuinely mean that.
Well, thank you. See, normally I would tell you all the reasons why you're wrong, but I'm just going to say thank you. I'm working on that. Thank you.
That's good. I also am working on that, but I'm waiting for somebody to compliment me. It hasn't really happened. So, all right, we got another segment of the show called Pro Tips. And that is, what's your best piece of advice for the newbie trying to buy their first laundromat?
Is you can do it. This isn't rocket science. This is not, and just, you will learn on the job. You can do it. That's what it is. It can be, you can Google things, join the online communities on Facebook, ask questions. People are really willing to help share their experience and their information, and you just figure it out. It's not rocket science. It's laundry. Right? That's my tip.
It's so simple.
It is simple.
Just do it.
I'm in awe of the people who are I went to the Wash Dry Fold conference, and I met some people who didn't yet own a laundromat. They were just researching to decide if they wanted to, and that's just so far from how I operate ever. And I think sometimes that can paralyze people. If you research so much, you're going to get paralyzed. At some point, there is not going to be the answer that you're looking for. You just have to do it and figure it out. That's it.
Yeah. I agree 100% with that. I do consulting calls a lot of times with people who are I've been thinking about buying a laundromat for 10 years or, 3 years or whatever. And I'm well, why haven't you?
Yeah.
But I don't want to dismiss, it's a scary step, right? When you buy a business for the first time and you're going into it and you're feeling like you don't know enough. I did a consulting call this morning with, two business partners, and they were essentially, they were not going after the specific laundromats they wanted yet because they wanted to learn more. And the whole goal of that call was okay, what do we need to do to get you to feel comfortable to go after the ones that you want? Because that's the goal, right? That's the goal. So let's get you there. Let's forget about all this other stuff and let's get you there. Right. But that action is, it is what it takes. And so many times, I don't know, I think back on my experience and again, it gives me a lot of empathy. Right. And probably you too, I look back on my experience and I remember and I recognize how difficult it was. I jumped in, I did exactly what you said, and it went terribly wrong for a long time. And it was hard and it was stressful and it was discouraging and all those things. Right. And at the time I was this is a huge mistake. But I don't know that I would do it different if I went back, because it, we talked about already, it shaped me so much, and literally you and I would not be sitting here talking if things didn't go horribly wrong for me. And I was I'm going to try to help other people. Right. And start a podcast to talk to people who are doing this thing right. to teach me and to teach everybody else, how to really run this business. And there's just so many good things come out of the bad things in life too, that it's really hard to see that in the beginning, and it's really hard to step into something where things could go wrong. So, I have a lot of empathy for that, and I don't want to dismiss that fear, and some of it's justified. But on the other hand, like, you don't get anywhere in life unless you get out there and start doing stuff.
Yeah. So I say just do it, and you are going to, everything you just listed, you're going to experience. Yeah, just do it, and it's going to be hard. And there's going to be moments that you're like, what the heck did I just do? Like, this is nuts. And then you're going to look back and be like, how did I get through that? And you'll have gotten through it. And if it didn't work out the way you wanted to, like, then it wasn't the end for you, right? Like, if you're not done. Maybe the end is not how you think it's going to be, and the journey that you end up with isn't where you think it's going to be. But if you aren't where you want to be yet, you're not done. Right?
It's all coming back around. Look at this full circle. We already talked about this too. One of the ways I've been talking about it lately is like, just do it and bring a guide with you, right? Whether that's it's what you were saying essentially, right? Like, whether that's the Facebook groups or another owner or a consultant or whatever it is, like, just do it and bring a guide, and the guide, or it's just a podcast, right? Like, the guide, can help you avoid the pitfalls, and alleviate some of the risk and fear, with you. So,
and you're never going to be prepared for everything, right? Like, it's like parenthood. Anyone who's a parent, like, there is nothing, you can read every single parenting book in the entire world. You can babysit, you can do all of those things. And then you become a parent, and it's like nothing that you thought it was going to be. It's the same thing as buying a business, right? Like, you can have this image in your head of how you think it's going to be, and it isn't. And it's okay. That's all right.
Yeah. It's better than all right. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good because it's about the journey. I don't want to harp on it too much, but it is about the journey and who we're becoming and who we're, developing and growing into. And that's what it's about. That's what life is about.
Yeah. So what Jordan hasn't said is he and I are going to co-lead a yoga retreat later. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
We are really here to announce that we're going to be.
Breaking news, real breaking. I will supply the goats. We'll do some goat yoga, and you're going to have to do the stretch. I'm like the least flexible. Actually, it's one thing, genuinely, this is one thing that I'm working on in life. Yeah. Physically is my flexibility. So maybe we should do a yoga retreat. I don't do yoga. I couldn't sit still. That I would start twitching. I can't sit still that long. You have already volunteered us to lead it, and I've already said I'm not flexible. So you're going to have to lead it, and I'm bringing goats. Retreat ever. Yeah, look for the link in the show notes, and YouTube. The link will be down below to sign up for our goat yoga retreat that we're going to do. I'm excited about it. And you've already said you always just wear leggings everywhere anyway. So you're already in uniform no matter where we are.
Yeah,
so
I play the part.
You're good to go. This is going to be like a yoga therapy, like, retreat that's going to transform lives. I can't wait. And we'll talk laundry. Oh, this is so good.
See, that's where real innovation happens, is like the combination of all these different things that you don't think are connected.
Yeah.
I think we're onto
Goats,
something.
Yoga and laundry is a match made in heaven.
Obviously.
I'm looking forward to it. So we'll have all the details on the show notes page for our goat yoga retreat with laundry. Last segment of the show, besides our goat yoga retreat, can you recommend any resources to help us grow personally or help us grow our businesses?
I think you listed one of the resources, and the number one is like, find your people, find your village, and people that you can trust and talk things through and bounce ideas off of. Entrepreneurship, leadership in general is a lonely road. And so finding your village. So I happen to it's an app, like an asynchronous talking app. It's called Voxer. But I have two friends who also I used to work with at my old job, and we've all left, and we're all kind of found ourselves in these individual roles. And all day long, we just like bounce ideas off of each other. So to not do it alone, and whatever that looks like, maybe. And I know that you have like, I'm going to butcher what the name is, but you have your groups of cohorts.
Mastermind groups.
Thank you. Which
huge,
are great.
By the way.
So
huge,
so find a formal mastermind group or create your own little, but don't do it alone. Don't sit there with your and just wonder, what should I do? Because for everything that you think you're thinking about, there's another 10,000 things that you're missing that other people can bring that perspective in. So that would be my I think that's my biggest thing. And then joining all the Facebook groups. They're super helpful with like technical questions. I'll take a picture of a broken machine, take a picture, or send an error code or whatever, and people like within the hour typically jump in and say, oh, do this, this, and this, and they're almost always right. So those would be my two big resources.
Yeah, I love that advice. And just, I don't want to this is not a sales, pitch for the mastermind course. This is a sales pitch for the Goat Yoga Laundry
Obviously,
retreat, actually. But just a little side note is, I was a little nervous about starting those mastermind groups, not because I didn't think they'd be valuable. I didn't know how the response would be. And the response has been great. But what I just get more and more excited. I feel like I'm talking about them a lot, but it's because I've been getting stories more and more, from people joining those mastermind groups saying, this is incredible. Like, we're solving problems, we're getting things done. Like, I don't know. And like you said, like, this can be a very lonely journey. And I don't know about for you, but for me, entrepreneurship, business ownership is like a freaking roller coaster of emotions a lot of times, where I'm like high on life and like things could not be going better. And I'm like, this is what I'm going to do forever. And then it could be the next hour. And I am like, all right, I'm going to quit. Like, this is, I'm done.
Away, take the keys.
I'm going to go be a goat yoga retreat person, which may be the case. I don't know. So having other people in your life to help you and just to empathize too with that journey and that process is huge. So, I thought that was great advice. Last question I have for you is, first of all, if people want to, go to our Goat Yoga retreat, what's the best way? Check the link in the
obviously
in the show notes.
I'm gonna have to come up.
Okay.
What I didn't tell you is that every time I have a new idea, I buy a website. I buy the URL for it just in case, and I have 35 of them. So now I'm gonna have to come up with a name for our Goat Yoga and buy the website just to have it.
I've got about 16. Let's connect. I do the same thing. And so, we'll connect after we stop recording here and get that. So that link will be down below. But if people want to connect with you, they're just loving, the vibe you're putting out there like I do. What's the best way they can get a hold of you?
So I am on LinkedIn, but I rarely check it. And you can email at info@thelaundrybasket.me. I think those are probably the best ways to catch me. Don't call me. I don't pick up my phone either. Unless you want to buy my storage unit, in which case I will call you right back.
That's right. Yeah. Leave a message or send. That was going to be my next question, is where to connect with you if they want to buy that storage. So good. So we'll have the details with their email address and all that stuff right below the link for the Goat Yoga. So click on the Goat Yoga link and then shoot her an email after that. So, Amanda, this has been awesome.
People are going to tune in halfway through and be like, what is this Goat Yoga they're talking about?
Yeah. And here's the thing, is that they will have missed nothing pertinent to that conversation in the first half. So I don't know. It's fine. This has been awesome because, just a lot of like very practical stuff, but I just love the way you're thinking about this business and then how you're aligning the business with the way that you're thinking about it. And I genuinely, I feel like I complimented you like way too much here. So I feel like I need to insult you on the way out here.
As you should.
So I'm going to work on that while I'm talking.
Yeah.
But just so much good stuff. I really appreciate your vulnerability and sharing just, some of the struggles that you've gone through and just your journey in general. And, knowing that this is not the end point and you're still kind of going on it. So I cannot wait to do another podcast episode with you in like Thailand or something, traveling the world and talking about how you did it all with laundromats. So
right back at you. Thank you. This has been wonderful. Again, as a new laundromat owner, like your podcast and other podcasts, like thank you for sharing. It's for nothing, right? Like I got to tune in and have this free resource from you. So thank you so much. And for sharing your failures that have really ultimately led to your successes. So.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And I will take all of the credit for all. No, I'm just kidding. I feel like I do get like an way too much credit. It's you and the other guests who've come on the show to share your story. Like that's where a lot of that value comes in. And this thing doesn't happen if I'm talking every episode by myself, because as the YouTuber pointed out earlier this week, I'm super boring to listen to. So
dude, stop listening then.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure she did.
Yeah.
But anyways, appreciate you. And let's do this again. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and I cannot wait for our goat yoga retreat, which now I think we actually have to do. I don't know.
Can you imagine?
I don't think there's any way around this. I don't think there's any way around it. We're going to do it. That's right. Masterminding with goats and yoga happening. Check that link.
Oh,
all right. Till next time.
Bye.
All right. Hope you loved today's episode with Amanda. I know I did. Again, huge shout out to Amanda for coming on, sharing her story and her wisdom, and just having a good time with me. We had a lot of fun. So all of that said, listen, you've got to put some stuff into action. Ideas are great. Plans are great, but you've actually got to do the things, it's the hard part. It's the easy part, but it's also the hard part to actually go out and do it. So get out there and do it. Pick one thing from today's episode, get out there, put it into action. Maybe go share on the forums, laundromatresource.com/forums, what you're doing so you can have some accountability. Also, man, if you're like me and you need some accountability to take some action, mastermind groups are probably the thing for you. So check out laundromatresource.com/pro. Mastermind groups are included in that community. We just launched another, I think 4 mastermind groups last week, and they're rolling out all the time. People are raving about them. Check out some people who are in them. And yeah, all right, go put some stuff into action here. Let's make those dreams happen. All right, we'll see you next week. Peace.